that I could yell, pull! And they'd reach out and they'd pull the mirror in, and I'd pull in my mirror, and we'd like cat whisker right through something. So they knew when they drove with me that it was going to be an issue. Hi, I'm Michael Joy. This is Absolute Joy. I got a long short story for you today. I'm not good with cars, it's no secret. My first car was a full-size Econoline passenger van that my mom helped me buy after graduation, and we drove it across the country. And I should have realized when the guy said, the glass is worth $2,000, which was the price of the car. I shouldn't have bought that van because I tried to fix that van, it almost killed me, and then I gave that van away and it almost killed me again. Let me tell you about vans. I love them, but damn it. So this van I bought because art school, and I was just starting. So I drove back with my mom and we had a bunch of stuff in the back of the car, and this was me starting to post art school life. And the van was underpowered, had some mechanical issues, and it was a stick shift van. And it had a clutch pedal that didn't have a pad on it, so it had highly polished metal clutch. Didn't think anything of it. But in the winter, a slipped clutch pad is your foot slips off it, turned into problems later. So this van and I were on many journeys together. One of the journeys that was most common was that all of my friends would call me to help me move their apartment. If you have a van, it's bad. But I got so good at driving that van, I have to say, that in some driving, so Chicago's always under construction, and my buddy would be in the passenger side of the van, and we had no air conditioning because it didn't have enough power for air conditioning. And we got to the point where we were so coordinated that I could yell, pull! And they'd reach out and they'd pull the mirror in, and I'd pull in my mirror, and we'd like cat whisker right through something. So they knew when they drove with me that it was going to be an issue. Since we didn't have the seats in it, people that sat in the back of the vans were like, it was always, they would hold the seat belts, but it was more for stability, not for safety. So I'm like, well, you wanted me to help you move, and so I pulled out the bench seats. You guys, come on. One time that van got broken into, and it was parked in the alley outside of my friend's loft. And I go out there and I noticed the van, something wasn't right. And at the end of the alley, I just caught this guy just turning the corner. And I went back inside. I'm like, some son of a bitch just broke into my van. They took my gym bag. Let's go get him. So we all jump in the truck. And I don't know, we had sticks and whatever. There's 4 of us. We're not badasses. We're dumbasses. Start driving the car and we catch this guy who had my gym bag. 4 guys jump out of the van. He was scared. Give me my bag and it'll be okay. And then my friend gets out with the stick, and we weren't going to do anything. And he gives me the bag, and I'm like, why is this so heavy? Well, I open it up, and there was a case of oil in the car, and he put the case of oil in there was nothing to steal. We all felt like Vikings, and got the van, and got the bag back, and there was nothing to steal in the car. A day or 2 later, I'm at the gas station. I reach in the dish, which was my change dish, for the keys to open the gas cap, because on the vans, I had 2 25-gallon tanks. Right, I could be siphoned. It's for me, it would be a big loss. So I went to open gas, and there was no keys because he emptied the coin dish. Then I was pissed at the thief, because then I had to go AutoZone or whatever it was at the day, ask for something to pry the gas cap off or drill. I don't know what I did. And then I had to buy new gas caps with locks on them. I'm like, this sucks, This van always was getting into trouble. There was one time it started breaking down, and I had this guy. I was at the Lorelei by this point. And I'm like, I'm having trouble with my van in the winter. There was kind of handyman at the building, at the Lorelei. And he's like, I'll fix it for you. I'm a mechanic, I'll fix it for you. And he didn't show up. Because I used to go out to the parking lot and I see all these other cars, and I was just like, oh shit, those cars start. Mine doesn't, my mechanic's not here. So I go inside, I ask Jerry, I'm like, I don't remember his name, where's Carl? She's like, you're not gonna believe this. Carl found a brown paper bag full of money in the alley, and he went to Las Vegas. I'm like, and Jerry's like, that wasn't smart because that bag belonged to somebody, and he talked about that. And I was like, I'm like, my mechanic went to Vegas.
Brown paper bag with money.
That was drug money, yeah. So I took it upon myself that I'm gonna fix this van. I lift the hood, and I'm working on this car. Working on this car meant looking at it. I'm gonna need a manual.
Manuals don't help in this kind of situations.
So I go and I buy a manual. It's like this big, and I thought it would have a thing in the back that said, if your car doesn't start, go to page 32, and I'm thinking it'll be that easy. No, 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 no. I'm working on this thing and I'm like, oh, it's a belt, there's a belt. And then I have to go back to the store and get a belt and then a CTA it back and I got the belt. And now I'm trying to put the belt on and I don't have any wrenches or anything like that. So, and then the wind picks up and the wind picked up the hood of the van, and because I had a metal pole under there, it doesn't have anything to hold it, and it lifted it off the metal pole. The metal pole fell and that latch hit me in the back of the head. And I thought, oh my God, someone's driving a spike through the back of my head. This van is killing me. I'm like, unbelievable. I get the van started and I drive it all squeaky to a car mechanic, which was a garage. And I pull in and I go inside and I'm waiting. And the guy at the front, he's like, can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, my car needs to be fixed. He goes, is that your van? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I don't think you set the brake. And it's rolling backwards out into traffic. I'm like, motherfucker. He didn't do a thing. I ran out there, I jammed on the brake. I'm like, can you help me? And they're like, yeah. So they fixed the van. Now, that was only temporary. I had a blowout on that van. I was with Heidi and that front wheel went pow. And then I called roadside assistance and he's like, you got the locks for the wheel hubs? And I'm like, that son of a bitch who took my keys, took my hub locks too. I'm like, now a year later, I got trouble with the car. And he's like, well, do you mind if I break the hub? Then I got in the middle of the night on the highway, I got this man with an axe hatcheting the lug off of this thing so I can get a tire changed on my van. I was like, this is no bueno. I'm like, this van is not for me. So I'm like, this van has lived its life. You know, thick and thin with this van. I've moved 12 of my friends, been broken into. I haven't crashed, but I was really good at parallel parking. I thought, what else is left to master after parallel parking a van in downtown Chicago with a slippy clutch pedal? Because I would rock that car. I'd be front, back, clutch in, clutch out. I never put any tape on the pedal. I took it as a personal challenge. I'm like, I will own you today, van. It was like a horse and rider. I'm like, I donated this to a friend of mine, so I called a tow service and I'm like, oh, thank God. So the company comes out and they pick up the van, which at that point had been sitting a little while because I had a different car. I think my mom gave me a Volvo or something. And pleased as punch. I mean, if I had had a movie camera, I would have filmed it being winched up onto the flatbed and this and that. And you know, when they drive away, I'll be like, so long, you blah, blah. They take the car away and I felt like a chapter of my suffering art school car life was past. And you know, 30, 40 minutes later, I get in my car and I go to drive back downtown because it was stored out at my mom's house. And I look up ahead of me and I see this flatbed truck with a brown van on it. I used to call it the Brown Cloud. That was the name of the van. And I'm like, oh, that's my van, because I thought they would be gone by now. I'm like, oh, they must have stopped for lunch. The whole tow truck swerved right in front of me, cut me off. I'm like, almost crashing into these cars. I'm like, it almost killed me again. This van is not happy that I put it up for adoption.
Definitely.
Not happy. I slowed down and I'm like, I am going to another lunch until that car gets off the freeway. And I called my friend and I said, did the van arrive? He's like, yeah. A couple of years later, I asked him, I said, so whatever happened to the Brown Cloud? He's like, oh, you had blowback. It just needed a fix of the so-and-so and this and that. And my friend had a band. They drove it across the country a bunch of times. No problems. Really? That van was a problem for me, but apparently the van needed a musician and I was a potter. We were cosmically misaligned. Apparently, you buy an old car, you better know how to fix an old car. So that van, but you know what? I bought another van. This one was fancy. And from then on, I've owned vans moving forward. But the second van was great. This was when gas was $1 a gallon, so it wasn't so bad. I remember that van protected me. And even to the last day where I got in, it was parked in front of my Oak Park building, and I pushed the brakes and all brakes went out. And I looked under the car and there's like brake fluid like going down the van committed Harry-Carry in front of my own house. It could have committed suicide on the highway when I was moving at a high rate of speed. I gave it a hug. I'm like, oh, this van. Yeah, that one I donated to NPR. That was a really nice van. I miss it. And then I have a third van today.
It's also brown.
It's gold, please.
Is it gold?
It's gold. And my brother Patrick is coming to pick it up. He wants a camping van.
So the moral of the van stories.
Buy a nice one, and vans are great. There's nothing better than driving a living room. I'll probably buy another one.
For what purpose?
You don't need a purpose to buy a van, Anna. That's the moral of the story.
Oh, okay. Big boys, big toys. Here we are.